program is Security Focus, and my name is Ifunaya Amafili. And as we usually do, we always bring security issues, security tips on the program. And it's an interactive program. We're going to open up the phone lines and get your own views about security issues. And today we have the pleasure of having with us in the studio Mr. Harrison Madubeze. He's a special assistant to the governor on new media. And before then, he was also a lecturer at the Department of Public Admin, Chukwu Emeka Odumegu, Ojukwu University. So many thanks for being with us in the studio.
Thank you.
Now, one of the reasons why I called you to the studio was because I ran into an amazing book that you're part of the editorial team. I know there was a meeting that they had in Kenyatta. There was a conference they had in Kenya in Nairobi. And there was a collaboration with the European Union and the African Union. And then you came up with this, the team of all of you came up with this amazing book, Crime, Security, and the Future of the African Nation States. Tell us about that.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, dear audience. Let me thank you in a special way, the moderator, for having me on the program. Well, actually, this wonderful piece of research output is a product of a conference that was held around May 2018 in Kenyatta University.
That was this year?
Yes, this year.
And already people have put together
the conference was organized by International Institute of Public Policy Review and Development Strategies. Okay. Their key focus is, underscoring the Sustainable Development Goal of the United Nations, and seeing how far this program could actually be made better for it not to be like that of the Millennium Development Goal that just ended. Okay. So the theme of this conference was African Solutions to African Problem. Okay. So we had to travel from Nigeria here to be part of that conference. It was an academic exercise. So in the course of the conference, conference is something that happens. Then after some period of time, you could actually, have interactive session. Then within the period of interactive session, I ran into these two wonderful colleagues. Okay. One from India, and the other man is from like Eritrea or something. Then we, got into discussion. And we are talking about security challenges in Africa and transborder crimes and all that. So after a heated discussion and all that, I came up with this idea, sir, can't we put up a research output, have different areas of focus, okay, and come to, concrete recommendations on how the society could be better, how Africa as a continent could benefit from the wealth of experience of those conferees. Mm-hmm. And that was how it started. And today we have this book.
Crime, Security, and the Future of the African Nation State.
Yes.
There was something you said while we were discussing that, like you said, finding African solutions to African problems. Mm-hmm. Of course, most solutions we try and imbibe in Africa, narrowing it down to Nigeria, are usually European solutions. Yes. And we have our own peculiarity in Africa. Yes. So let's talk about African security, Nigeria security. Yes. What kind of solutions do you think, from the research, what kind of solutions do you think that Nigerian security should be looking forward to?
Okay, well, one good thing about research is that research is a wonderful idea. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful phenomena to get into, because it leaves no barrier to what you can actually come out of. Okay. You can actually decide to embark on a particular research, exercise, and end up finding yourself at another end that is actually beyond your scope. Before this work started, I wasn't an expert in security issues. So, but for me, getting into this study opened my mind to a lot of other issues as long as security is concerned. Now, to answer your question straight up, I want to believe that security is something that we've actually taken beyond, rhetorics. It has gone academic. It has gone beyond academic too, if you ask me. Okay. It has gotten to a point where even in Nigeria here, where people have attempted to domesticate the security per se. So in the last dispensation, before the present administration came on board, I think they did quite well in area of vigilante services.
Okay.
It was during that period that we were able to articulate what we have today as a vigilante outfit that is helping in the area of community policing. So how far that has gone, you've had various, contrary submissions as per what has been the success of this vigilante outfit. So for me, what should really be good for the Nigerian security outfit is that our people need to begin to take some proactive actions towards, finding a lasting solution to our security problems. One, our people must start engaging intelligent people into security services. If you look at the crop of people we have today, even in that vigilante services, vigilante services has become something that we use to settle a notorious personality within a community. In other words, if you are known for crime and all that, the only way you could actually be compensated and be given something meaningful is to make you the head of the vigilante of the community. That means you become a settled person. No, it shouldn't be so. Community policing, for me, should also be part of intelligence gathering. In other words, it shouldn't be anything bad if we begin to recruit our intelligent young graduates into security, community vigilante services. You need to professionalize that service. You need to make it look like for you to fight security effectively.
Agencies that we have, the paramilitary agencies, civil defense, police, they have some cadre or some level of academic intelligence that is expected. That's the structured form of security.
Even the issue of our paramilitary agencies, we don't really want to run the system down as if they don't have anything. They have good guys within this outfit. But if what is happening in our community policing is also happening to most of our, I think in Nigeria as we have today, I'm sorry to put it this way, is still something that one need to prove otherwise, because what we still have as a police officers today are people who feel that they cannot perhaps pass them effectively, or perhaps they cannot do well in the university. They end up being police officers. No, it shouldn't be so. There is
it should be the most brilliant
ones who should get into security services in our country for us to get to the next stage. You see, so that is my own personal view, and I believe that if we practicalize that, we are going to begin to get more effective and efficient outcome in near future.
Okay, that's a good idea. Let's go through some of the chapters. I looked at the book. I'm going to steal a copy if I don't get one. But let's go through some of the chapters there, and I thought it was very interesting. Poverty and crime. Do you think there's a synergy, especially when we're talking about crime in Nigeria? Not necessarily. And Anambra, the governor has done a lot to curb crime in the states. That's one of his, that's one of the most obvious things everybody on the streets can see, that the crime rate in Anambra has reduced significantly. However, we still have issues of petty crimes, there's a language they call them one chance. You enter a bus, they kidnap you. They don't kidnap you, but they take you to a corner, strip you of your things. I get reports from the police office, from the PPRO's office, so we get updates of their diaries. Rape, you go to corners, busy streets, they're trying to snatch your bags and things like that. Do we still relate crime in Africa, in Nigeria, to poverty?
Okay, it's relative.
Okay.
If you go through the book, you'll understand that the author there is trying to draw a relative outcome to the issue of poverty and crime. Let me just believe that we are not trying to assess the security situation of Anambra State.
We're just saying in the general. Do you think that most people commit crime in Nigeria based on poverty, not necessarily because they're bad people?
For me, there is an adage our people used to say that onyori bonyori.
It doesn't
matter what you do or the reason behind your activities.
Yes.
It's not like it's true to say that a hungry man is an angry man, but you cannot agree in totality that a hungry man is a criminal or is a thief.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I want to believe that hunger and crime, poverty and crime, they're relative in terms of analysis. So I wouldn't want to conclude, because in our society we still have a lot of poor people that are not criminals. We still have a lot of people who go about engage in petty crimes. Only when you caught them, they will start telling you that it is hunger. Do you understand what I'm saying? I didn't have anything to eat, and it's not really surface. So that is it.
Okay, so let's talk about financial fraud and the effects of insider abuse. But before we get to the insider abuse, let's talk about financial fraud, because that was something that was on the book also.
Yes,
financial fraud is something the young people do, and we don't really see it as fraud. They look at it like Onya burozu, Onya bugai, Ona no guy, but the proper terminology is 419. They're duping people, taking money off. So how does this book tackle it? 2, how can you make the young youth think that, okay, he has to work for 30 years before he's able to afford a house, a car? I suppose when he knows that he can do, cybercrime.
Okay. For me, the issue there for me is something I could actually blame our entertainment industry for.
Okay.
Yeah, it is our entertainment industry that is giving us this perception that life is that easy. So it's an entertainment industry that is making us see some of the things our younger generation practice today as things that could be achieved within a flip of hand. It is not just that easy. What you need to do as a young man is that you need to set your plan on what you intend to do. You see? So to make money quick, for me, is what I felt we started learning from the home videos we watch, from most of those foreign movies that we watch. So from there, the attitude of trying to get the money at all costs,
everybody's waiting for
became
Malay boys are coming back. These ones are coming back.
Yes. And when they arrive, we'll be shocked at the kind of money these guys will be throwing up and down. So for the society to get better, there is a need for a proper reorientation.
How? What would you suggest? Like you said, once they come back, money is going to be thrown around. People are happy, women are excited, men are excited. These boys or these people are bringing money.
The proper orientation has to start.
How do we change the orientation and say we're not going to tolerate
it has to start from the family first. Then the church has to come in. Then from the church, the national orientation agencies, government agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of, teaching our younger generation the right attitude to life, or to take up, and do their job properly. The family, because life starts and ends in the family. There is nothing you can be today if your father or your mother is not in support of it. For most of those guys that practice cyber crime or whatever thing they do, is because they have even if they don't support it, they have this kind of parental upbringing that anything goes. You can go anywhere, make money. All your father or your mother wants to see is the money. They don't care how you got the money. So that is it. So.
Then let's talk about the insider effect. What did you mean by that in the book? What did your team mean when they said cybercrime and insider effect? The people in the banks also collaborate with this cybercrime.
They do. That is even where the problem comes from. Because if you actually investigate how much a bank worker earns, and the rate some of them, engage in some certain projects, you begin to wonder, are you really a bank worker? Or I think there is one case we had about 2 years ago of one Anambra guy. I don't want to mention his name. He's from Anambra South, Aguata to be specific. So he had an issue with Fidelity. Over a period of time, he couldn't, manage the degree of query that were coming to him. That the bank had no option than to investigate what the young man was doing, because they have also set some certain spies to go and investigate his lifestyle and all that, and discover that where he was living in Lagos, he built the house. And they don't know this young man as somebody who does any of that and outside, coming to work, closing later in the day, then go home.
So
at the end of the month, they couldn't have afford that kind of money to be living that kind of lifestyle. So they started. He was working with Fidelity, so started investigating him. Then from the other issues they had, they discovered, one or two things they usually do. So it was because the young man helps this young
boys
to get the money, they were able to make their way, and he will take his commission, and that is how he's getting.
So the bank helps. The insider in the bank helps the clearance
very, very well.
They get a commission for whatever they do. They do. So that means if the insiders don't help,
the money can't come in. It can't come in. You still have some cases where you have some top bank officials too. That helps this young guy to move depending on the amount of money that you want to facilitate.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and if they're much interested in the money, what they need simply do is to shut you out. Tell you that you can't do it, set up security agents, then threaten the owner of the money. It doesn't run away, they will seize the money.
Oh, wow.
So, yes.
So your money can even come in and
they will give it to you. Yes. That
Isn't
is
that interesting?
part of those
Okay,
things,
good. Yes. Another part of the book I liked that I found very interesting, hate speech and national security. And everybody, I'm trying to find out let me start by asking you, what exactly is hate speech? Because everybody has a perception of what they think hate speech is. Someone feels, okay, if you talk bad against an Igbo man, it's hate speech. Or if you say something and there's a Yoruba man involved, it's hate speech. Or a Hausa man is involved, or a Muslim, when we have differences, then people say when you say something about those people, it's hate speech. Or for example, you say, okay, the government is not doing something that it should. What is hate speech?
Okay, I think what we need to do here is to, constructively distinguish between constructive criticism and hate speech.
Okay.
For me, a lot of other persons they still believe so.
Okay.
That hate speech is relative. What you see as hate may not be what the next person sees as hate.
Okay,
absolutely. You see? So what I want to believe by, giving a conceptual understanding to it, that a hate speech, for me, should be any statement made towards a particular set of people in a heterogeneous society like Nigeria.
Any
that
statement
is
made
towards a particular people in a heterogeneous society like Nigeria, with an intention to provoke
people, different types of people.
Yes,
okay.
With an intention to provoke a negative reply
from the person
that we are referring to.
Okay.
For instance, the federal government. This particular concept is a new concept. I think it started like last year. Yeah, it started like last year when the federal government needed to, draw the attention of Nigerians to the fact that we are overstepping the boundary on issue of things that binds us together as a nation.
Okay.
The federal government started, advocating for people to be careful the kind of statement they make. You really cannot put a finger to what are those things that is called hate speech. But like I've said, there are statements you made as a result to provoke an action, a negative action from that person you are referring to.
Okay.
There is no way. Okay, there is a statement. One thing I wrote one day on my Facebook wall where that period of Misore, had to agree to work with APC to help them win the Osun election. I wrote on my Facebook wall that this is a typical example of a Yoruba man. A lot of people saw it from a different perspective. To some people, that statement was a hate speech. For me, I was, trying to carry out a constructive statement that historically, unless we don't value history anymore, historically, this is what you usually see if you deal with this kind of set of people. And just yesterday,
hate speech now because you're classifying people in this sense.
No, I was talking from a historical background. To some people it was a hate speech. To some other person they will see maybe what do you mean? That should be the question I should ask. But I think the statement made by Afeni Fene yesterday or 2 days ago affirmed what I said. Because I've already
I don't want to ask you what that statement is. But let's talk about hate speech and then relate it to national security. Religious sentiments, the cattle headsmen and all those things. How can hate speech affect national security? So how can we ensure that doesn't disintegrate the nation as a whole?
Okay, well, for me, I want to believe that a spoken word can no longer be retracted.
Absolutely. As
a nation, I think we've gotten to that stage in life where we need to be cautious of some certain statements.
Okay.
One of the easiest way to get Nigerians to action these days is to make a certain statement or a certain derogatory statement to a particular group of people.
Okay.
You could actually still refer it to hate speech.
Okay.
The moment that happens, it does nothing other than to continue to divide us across ethnic lines.
Absolutely.
So the security of a country should also be looked into while making some certain statement. Because if our leader doesn't do that, what it means is that to a certain extent, they may not be able to control some certain utterances that have made in the past in respect to some certain occurrences that maybe they start to discuss it as a result of emotional expression and all that.
So are you saying that most hate speeches are most times born out of people's emotional belief?
Most of the statements you see there are threatening the security of the country. If you see some certain, leaders make some statements as a result of, their personal feeling over what happened within the party, you begin to wonder. You see, so it's quite, could actually come from there.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the program is security focus, and with us in the studio is Mr. Harrison Madubueze, special assistant to the governor on new media, former lecturer, Department of Public Admin, Chukwuemeka Odumegu Ojukwu University. Yes. And we're talking about the book Crime, Security, and the Future of the African Nation State. Let's talk about this. What kind of useful insights? The last caller that called back, the one that was speaking in Igbo, was talking about calling people Indioji, that's the police, right? Crime, security, and the future of the African nation state. Do you have any collaboration with the security forces? Because if you're writing a book like this, and people have put together, which is the collaboration between the African Union, European Union, what impact would it have with our own security institutions here? Okay,
thank you very much for that question. Let me, emphasize that this work, contains over 60% of Nigerian contributors.
Okay.
And the good thing about things is that it domesticated most of the experiences to our contemporary society. When it came out, it was never intended to, have the kind of audience that it's now getting. But until recently, the Institute decided that instead of giving it out to individuals on patronage ground, the best thing to do is to have a formal unveiling of it. Okay. So a few days back, we discussed and we concluded that a date will soon be chosen between now and ending of November, where we could invite relevant security agencies and get a book reviewer, a professor in security matters, to review the book, then draw up master plans, for our security agencies to adopt, arising from the contents of the work, for proper training and retraining of our security officers. So we want to believe that on the day of the unveiling, agencies like the Nigerian Armed Forces, the police, the road safety, the immigration, the DSS, and the prison officers, they will be invited to that function vis-a-vis the government of Anambra State, where they will be able to, have a proper look at the outcome of at the contributions of scholars in this work, so that it will be used to give the society the needed help in the area of security management.
I was going to talk about prison reforms. Now, when we talk about crime, people would commit crime.
Yes.
Not everybody, but someone must commit a crime.
Yes.
Then there should be reforms for crimes.
Yes.
And it's sad to say that Nigerian prisons are not very reformative.
Yes.
They're more like holding centers. People serve out their sentences. Some are even there awaiting trials, and they're awaiting trials for years on ending. But it's not a reformative system.
Yeah, correctly. I want to believe that most of our government agencies and parastatals are being treated just the way the Nigerian leaders treat our infrastructures. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that just the way we have this beautiful studio here, set up by the ABS management at the moment we have in Anambra State. What happens to ABS when this particular dispensation is gone? There is a Latin word that says, nemo dat quod non habet. You cannot give what you don't have. Okay. What do we do to this institution of media when the current management is no longer in charge? What will happen to this? Okay. Are we still going to have this kind of young men and women that still, try to boost the image of this image of this agency. That is just the issue. Our problem is not making laws or putting them down on paper. It is maintenance of that law.
Okay.
If you look at the Nigerian prisons reform that have been done in the past, if you look at recommendations that have been made for Nigerian prisons, I don't think there is any place you could see that kind of well thought out ideas in the world.
But the problem we have
beautiful ideas.
When it comes to policy, I heard someone said that Nigeria has the best policies worldwide.
When
it
yes.
comes to different policies,
We don't lack the brains. What we lack is poor leadership. Leadership is the problem, honestly. Because you can't tell me that
everybody's a leader. I know we easily like to say the central. So if we're talking of the nation, we'll say the president. If we're talking of the states, we'll say the governor. But the prisons have their heads, they're controlled, and are they doing enough?
Well, for me, what
they all get budgets.
Everybody. Nigeria is such a country where we all know the problem, but nobody wants to take the responsibility for it. Nobody, including our president, is blaming the nation. The question now is who takes the responsibility? Who is saying we have failed? Looking at the prison or prison officers, I wouldn't like to make some statement that will look as if I'm trying to indict anybody. But the truth of the matter is that we have a problem with the top. We have a problem with the top. How that happens, you never can tell. But the truth of the matter is that the day we accept that, yes, our leaders are problems, we'll start from there. Because you can't just, begin to overhaul the system from the bottom. You have to start from the head. And the head is the presidency.
So
from there, the Controller General of Prisons. From there to down to
from the bottom.
That is it. Just a brief walk to Alka Prison Service there will prove to you that we have a long way to go as a country.
I know.
Let me just leave it there.
I know. We've actually had the head of the Controller of Prisons, Anambra State Command, the program, and he had talked about some of the reform. Now, there's another thing I observed. We don't even have juvenile prisons. So you have children that are not, above 18. They've committed one petty crime or the other.
They still put them with the senior old adult inmates.
So
that is actually the motion that won an award, for distinguished Senator Victor Ume in the National Assembly. For he is the best senator of the year 2018. The award will be given to him in November 10th. I don't want to talk about that matter. But it's there. But by November 10th, Nigerians will see what I'm talking about.
Representatives should be talking about.
Yes. He drew the attention of Nigerians to what is happening to the infant inmates. People who commit one crime or the other at young age, they'll be taken to prisons to go and stay with those old adult inmates, and they get exposed to various crimes.
Absolutely.
So the senator made a very salient observation, made recommendations for them. Okay, all right.
What useful insights and new direction do you see the security force, based on the collaboration moving towards? Like our last caller said, we need to go out of a certain ideology that this is what security is. And I know you had said that at the beginning of the program, where we need to start thinking about intelligent security. So, in terms of trying to summarize, what would you be your advice? Like I said, the new media. What should be the new security?
Thinking, okay.
Exactly for Nigeria. Okay.
Well, for me, like I said, it's still in line with what our last caller just said here. That our problem is, trying to reorientate the society. Like I said, our problem as a country is not on putting down those laws and those policies. I want to believe that what has been done in security agencies in Nigeria so far is enough for us to work with as a country and succeed favorably. He simply said that our security needs to be reshuffled. Maybe it's a wrong expression. I want to put that record straight. You don't reshuffle the security. What we have as a country in terms of our policing, the community policing, and the rest of them are quite okay to work with. What is need to be done to the system is for us to begin to engage intelligent minds. Look within our society. For us to get intelligence gathering, for us to get we can. It's only having the political will, just like Jobi Tobe said. What we need to do as a country is to, sit up to the fact that as a country we need to start bringing in intelligent guys to deal with the issue of intelligence gathering. You cannot get a notorious guy in the village there whose responsibility is to drink and chase married women up and down because he can beat up anybody, because he can wrestle or muzzle with the security and make the person the head of the vigilante. There is nothing wrong if we begin to engage
vigilante and community policing. Most states have been asking for state police, but community policing is the same thing.
The activities of those people referred to as vigilantes are what a community policing should be. Okay. Because today is quite unfortunate that Nigeria is a country with over 170 million or 180 million, whatever million we want to quote, whatever, or depending on who is quoting. I want to believe that it's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate that we don't have a police force with up to 30 million officers. But we should have security. Security has gone beyond carrying on, just like you said. You don't need to be reacting when event has taken place, because for everything that is done today, it didn't just happen today. For instance, now the shite protest and whatever, it started. They planned it. They didn't just start shite protests in Abuja yesterday. They have been talking about it perhaps for the past 1 week, 4 or 5 days. So what has been going on in the area of the intelligence gathering? So doesn't mean nobody was aware to inform the government this thing will happen, to at least to stop it from happening.
Yeah, because the first video I watched, they apparently knew where to go.
Yes.
They knew where the soldiers were transferring arms to. So they had some intelligence gathering.
Yes, than the security outfit. So that is it. So if they want to be serious with issue of security, they need to take up intelligence gathering very seriously. It's something that the government has to be very, very critical about. Begin to recruit first-class graduate, 2-1 graduate, train them properly. If you schedule them to our rural areas as their area of job description, they'll be able to be giving the government concrete information and very
states or the function of the federal government. What do you think?
Let's use the word the government, whether state or federal, depending on how ready. Anambra State, scored a good point in terms of security. Absolutely. In Anambra State. Absolutely. The issue of sporadic shooting and whatever. But the truth of the matter is that we still have petty crimes. Yes. We still have those guys in OPUECA who snatch people's bag, who invade your privacy before they will take your items and run away. Yeah, so things like that can actually stop through intelligence policing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
And then we'll use the communities.
Yes. So the state government can actually still start by it and begin to recruit younger ones that are quite intelligent to help in the issue of the intelligence gathering, especially in the rural areas.
Thank you so much. Once you're ready to launch the book, ABS is the first place to come.
For sure.
We'll make sure that we get involved.
For sure.
But I've read through some of the chapters and I tell everybody it's a book every security outfit
should have.
Yes.
Thank you.
It touches different chapters and sectors of the security issues we have in Nigeria. So good job.
Thank you.
And then well done too for putting Anambra State on the map. But anybody that says that,
Thank you. I forgot to emphasize that the issue I presented in Nairobi was value chain agricultural development program and food security in Anambra State, because it was African solutions to African problems. Value chain in the Ministry of Agriculture has been very wonderful in that area. Maybe it's an issue for another day, but I think I was able to convince the world on that conference that Anambra State has scored a laudable record in issue of agriculture and food security. So when they wanted to put me on the wrong side, I insisted my ground. I said no, and my panelists were like, so what are my recommendations? I said my recommendation is for this panel to make a recommendation to the European Union to travel down to Anambra State and ask them how are they getting things done the right way.
It's Security Focus. Many thanks for joining us. All our callers that called, and for those who couldn't pick up the calls, we're sorry about that. Join us next week, Wednesday. The program is 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and then trust me, we'll have something interesting to talk about. So you do have a good day. My name is Ifunaya Amafili.
Thank you.